The biggest mistake most people make when building a personal brand is thinking it's about them. Most people approach building their online presence focused only on what they can get: more visibility, more opportunities, more attention. And that mindset is exactly why they go nowhere. As a brand strategist with nearly a decade of experience helping brands and leaders connect with the right audience, here's what I've learned. The personal brands that thrive aren't built on self-promotion. They're built on something a little bit deeper. A decent relationship with the right audience built on clarity and intention. But most people miss it. So in this video, I'll break down this idea and help you get clear on what it actually takes to build a personal brand that opens doors. Now let's agree on something right from the start. Most of us, except for maybe a rare few, are building a personal brand because we want to make money. And that's okay. We're trying to land more clients, we're trying to sell more products, we're trying to get brand deals, all the above. At the end of the day, there's usually a financial goal in there somewhere, and that's fine. We're all in this to create opportunities. But the thing most of us get wrong, and I've been guilty of this too, is that we take a selfish approach to building our personal brand, and this approach is what holds most personal brands back. Again, to reiterate, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money out of your personal brand. The issue I'm referring to is the mindset behind it. And the mindset kind of controls everything. It controls what you post, it controls how you show up. And when the mindset is selfish, the focus is how do I get more followers, and how do I get more engagement, and how do I get attention so I can make money. And the entire approach is one-sided, and it kind of puts you at the center of the universe. And I see this mindset all the time. Companies put up job postings for social media manager or some kind of job along those lines. And the KPI is something like, we need 10,000 new followers in the next 3 months. Whenever I see that, I'm just like,
Blood of Jesus.
You see, the thing is, building a personal brand is like building a business. It's not about getting, it's about value exchange. You offer something people want, and in return, they give you something you want. And that's what business is built on: fair value exchange. But when you don't consider value exchange in your personal brand, it's like starting a business and thinking, I just want people to give me their money. But you're not thinking about what you're going to give them in exchange. But that's not how business runs. That's not business. That's begging. Or at worst, that's the foundation for becoming a criminal. And this is the core of the issue. The value exchange is broken. You're asking people for their trust, you're asking them for their attention, but you're not considering what you're going to give them in return. So when I talk about a selfish approach, I'm talking about a mindset that prioritizes getting over giving, visibility over value, and attention over connection. And that's why so many personal brands stop, because they haven't come to the realization that building a personal brand is about fair value exchange. You give something people want, and in return they give you their attention, their trust, and eventually their business. So we've already established that a selfish mindset is what causes most personal brands to stall. Now, one of the clearest indications of that mindset is an obsession with followers. Now, I don't really have any issues with the metric follower count. My issue is with the word follower, because it does something psychological to us. It kind of alters the way we think about the people we're trying to attract. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The Oxford Dictionary defines a follower as a person who supports and admires a particular person or a set of ideas. And sure, it sounds flattering. It makes you the center of attention. The more followers you have, the more you feel like a celebrity. And that's kind of the appeal, right? My problem with the idea of the follower is that it almost suggests that all you need to do is show up and people will automatically admire you. It makes it seem like you're already interesting enough, admirable enough, and that people are just waiting to hear what you have to say. But then you hit publish on your post and crickets, nothing happens. Turns out you're not as admirable as you thought you were, or as attractive as you thought you were. And that's the truth, no matter how bitter it is. But you're in good company, because everybody starts off that way. The only difference between you and someone who is successful at building a personal brand is they figured out that it's not about collecting admirers, quote unquote. It's about building an audience. And that change of word from follower to audience changes everything. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The Oxford Dictionary defines an audience as an assembled spectators or listeners at a public event such as a play, film, concert, or meeting. A group of people who come together because they're expecting something from you. They're not just here to admire, they're there for an experience, for some kind of value, something worth showing up for. And by definition, that puts the responsibility on you. You have to deliver something they want consistently. Because audiences don't stick around by accident. They stick around because you give them a reason to. So you see, follower and audience refer to the same set of people essentially, but each one of those words frames the relationship you have with them completely differently. With followers, you focus on who's watching you. With an audience, you focus on how you're showing up for them. It's the same set of people, but a different mindset. And that difference, it changes everything about how you build your personal brand. Now, at this point, we've reframed what it means to build a personal brand. It's not about collecting followers, it's about building an audience. And at the heart of all of that is a simple idea. An audience shows up because they expect a certain kind of experience from you. And your job is to deliver that experience consistently. And that's exactly what makes this much deeper than just posting content, because you're not just showing up to be seen, you're showing up to connect and build trust. If you think about top stage performers like theater actors or stand-up comedians or bands, they know one thing: the success of their show depends on how well they connect with their audience, and that connection is the point. It's the same thing here. If you're serious about building a personal brand, you need to start with that same understanding. Connection is what makes people stay, and trust is what makes your presence valuable over time. But the part most people don't talk about is that to show up consistently with the kind of experience that your audience wants, you need to have a strong foundation. And that foundation doesn't start with content, it starts with clarity. Clarity on who you want to connect with, clarity on the kind of impact you want to have on them, clarity on the kind of relationship you want to build with them, and clarity on how you're going to build that relationship with them. That's what gives your content direction, that's what keeps you consistent, and that's what makes your personal brand meaningful. You see, when you build a real relationship with an audience, one that is built on trust, you're not just showing up online to be seen, you're building credibility. And when enough people trust you, that trust becomes a signal, and that signal opens doors. Clients, collaborations, speaking invites, better opportunities, they all flow from trust. And that trust is built over time by showing up with clarity and intention consistently. So trust is the goal and clarity is the foundation. And we've touched on the key pieces we need to get there: the audience, the impact we want to have on the audience, the relationship we want to build with the audience, and showing up consistently to build a relationship with the audience. So this is where everything we've spoken about so far comes together. We've already established that building a personal brand isn't about visibility for visibility's sake. It's about building trust with the right audience. But the question is, how do we build that trust intentionally? That's where the CROP framework comes in. CROP stands for Clarity Required for Online Presence, and it's based on a simple truth I've come to believe deeply. Everything you're looking for is on the other side of a good relationship with an audience. Let me walk you through the 5 parts of that framework. The first part is impact. Most people start their personal brand journey by thinking about content. They think about what to post, what platform works best, how to get more engagement. But remember what I said earlier about fair value exchange. If you want people's attention, then you need to give them something they actually value. And that starts with being clear on the impact you want to have on them. What change do you want to help someone make? What shift do you want to see in their life, in their work, in their thinking? And it's important to be as specific as possible here. Instead of saying, I want to inspire people or I want to improve the industry, whatever that means, say, I want to help this kind of person go from here to here. In my case, for example, I want to help business leaders and ambitious professionals build online presence with clarity so they're not just visible, they're positioned for the opportunities they want. When you're clear on your impact, everything else starts to align. You show up with purpose and people start to trust that you're here to help, not just to be seen. The second part of the framework is the audience. Once you're clear on the impact you want to have, the next logical step is to figure out who you want to have the impact on. But this is where a lot of people get a little bit vague. They say things like, I want to speak to professionals or I help businesses. But those aren't people, they're categories. And if you're not clear on the people behind those categories, your message won't connect with anyone. So to be clear, you're not speaking to brands, you're not building a personal brand for the internet, you're building it to reach real people. People with routines, fears, ambitions, and pain points. The more clearly you define them, the more naturally you're able to speak their language. And again, be specific. What's going on in their world right now? What do they want that they're struggling to get? What kinds of things do they pay attention to? What frustrates them? What excites them? For example, in my case, I'm not speaking to businesses, I'm speaking to the people who lead them. Founders, executives, professionals with at least a couple of decades under their belt and want to be visible online. These are people with real depth, years of insight, hardened experience, and powerful ideas, but they're often not showing up online even though they're the most qualified voices to be heard. Having this description at the back of my mind makes it easier for me to create content that speaks directly to where they are, what they're wrestling with, and what they need to hear next. When you have this level of clarity about your audience, you're able to craft messages that feel personal to them. And when someone feels seen by your content, that's when they start paying attention, and that's how to create resonance. In the third part of the framework, we'll define the relationship we want to build with our audience. Now, once you're clear on the impact you want to have and the people you want to have the impact on, the next thing to figure out is how you're going to show up for them. This is what I mean by defining the relationship with your audience. Now, many people give themselves labels like coach, mentor, thought leader, but that's not enough because a label doesn't describe how you're going to consistently show up. And in many cases, you need to get so descriptive that one sentence is not enough. You need a whole paragraph, and in some cases, several paragraphs to really define the relationship you want to build with them. That's how descriptive we need to get here. Consider asking yourself questions like, what kind of presence do you want to be in their life? Are you the no-fluff straight shooter who tells things like they are? Are you the empathetic voice who listens, reassures, and uplifts like a shrink? Are you the nerdy explainer who lights up when sharing ideas? There's no wrong or right answer here. But one thing is very important to understand here. Whatever relationship you define, you will have to live it. You'll need to show up like that again and again. So if it's not aligned with your true nature, over time the cracks will show and people will sense the disconnect. And that's why authenticity matters a lot here. It's not about putting on a persona. It's about amplifying the parts of you that serve your audience the best. So don't fake it. If you're a straight talker, build that into your relationship dynamic. If you're a deep listener, make that a part of your presence. Let your natural strengths lead the way. At the end of the day, trust doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency, and it can only be consistent if you're being yourself. The fourth part of the framework is the mode of engagement. This is where most people start their personal brand journey, but they often start in the wrong place. I know this because most people who want to start their personal brand journey make statements like, I want to start a podcast, or I want to start a YouTube channel, or I want to start a blog, whatever it is. But the problem with this is that it doesn't ask the most important question, which is, what kind of experience are you trying to create for your audience? Because that's what they come back for, not the format, not the platform, the experience. Let me give you an example. Creator Hooks is a newsletter, and they deliver an experience consistently. They help content creators on YouTube to come up with better titles for their video to increase the likelihood of people clicking and watching their videos. It's simple, it's focused, it delivers a specific transformation every time. It's not just a newsletter, it's a reliable experience you can build trust on. Let me give you an example from my own life. I attend a church called Harvesters International Christian Center. We have a program called Next Level Prayer, which is a prayer session that takes place every weekday morning and is usually delivered through YouTube Live. But this is the thing, it's not just a live video, it's a daily spiritual experience that people have come to depend on, a way to start their day with clarity and connection to God. So the question is, what experience can your audience count on you for? What problem do you want to help them solve? What part of their routine do you want to become? What moment, mindset, or transformation do you want to deliver over and over again? That's your mode of engagement, and only when you're clear on your mode of engagement should you start thinking about the right formats to carry that experience. A blog series, a video series, a live stream, a community engagement, whatever it is. But the format follows the experience, not the other way around. And this shift changes everything because now instead of just posting content, you're creating experiences people actually want to come back for. That's how relationships are built, and that's what makes your presence meaningful. The fifth and final part of this framework is the goals and vision. Now that we've defined the kind of relationship we want to build with the audience and how we intend to show up to nurture it, it's time to ask a different kind of question. What do I want to get out of this? What's your goal in building a personal brand? More visibility, more career opportunities, more clients, more income, more freedom? Again, like I said at the start of the video, most of us start building our personal brand because we want to get something out of it, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with having goals, but the reason this comes last in the crop framework is simple. We can't get the result you want until you've built a real relationship with the audience you care about. Because like I said already in this video a couple of times, everything you're looking for is on the other side of that relationship. So now the real question is, how will you leverage that relationship to achieve your goals? If your goal is financial freedom, how will you deliver value to your audience in a way that earns their trust and eventually their business? If your goal is career growth, how will you position yourself as a voice worth listening to in your industry? If your goal is influence, what kind of impact do you want to be known for? At this point, you've already defined the people, the relationship, and the experience. You're merely connecting the dots from the value you create to the value you receive. And when you have that clarity, you're no longer just putting yourself out there. You're building something on purpose. You're not just chasing attention, you're building an asset. All right, so to recap, let's bring it all together. If you want to build a personal brand that actually opens doors, it's not about being impressive, it's not about chasing visibility or virality. It's definitely not about getting more followers just for the sake of it. It's about building trust. And the truth is, opportunities follow trust, and trust is built through an intentional connection with the audience. And this is what the Crop Framework was created to help you do. It helps you define what transformation you want to help create. It helps you to clarify who you want to create the transformation for. It helps you to decide what role you want to play in their lives, and it helps you to design the experiences you deliver to them consistently. And finally, it helps you to figure out how to leverage that relationship to create the outcomes you want. Everything you're looking for, the visibility, the clients, the influence, the growth, it all lives on the other side of a good relationship with an audience. So if you're serious about building a personal brand that actually goes somewhere, I would advise you to start with clarity. So if any of this resonated with you and you've been thinking about building a personal brand, or you started building your personal brand and you feel like something is missing, I want to invite you to the private lab. It's a one-on-one strategy workshop where I work with you to apply the Crop Framework specifically to your personal brand or business. We will get clear on your audience, your message, your mode of engagement, and help you walk away with a practical roadmap for building your personal brand that actually opens doors. If that sounds like something you need, click the link in the description below. And finally, if you like the video and drop a comment if you found anything interesting or anything is unclear. With that said, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.